Mr. Secretary, thank you very much. Just a couple of follow-up questions. First of all, it seems to me there's a theme here, and particularly, I guess, the rural nature of the makeup of this subcommittee. But what do you take from the kind of consistent concerns that are expressed here about the inability for rural states to compete for race to the top funding or other grant programs? What is it that the department can do to assure Kansans that they're going to be adequately able to compete for those grants? It doesn't happen.
Well, it's not quite that stark. It's a real issue, and I want to address it head on, but just give you a counter example again. So when we started the school improvement grant program, turning around the nation's underperforming schools, I heard a lot of legitimate concern from the rural community. We can't compete, we can't do whatever. My numbers won't be perfect, but the number of schools that need to be turned around, about 20% are in rural communities. But rural communities have actually gotten 23, 24% of the money. So they've actually gotten a disproportionate share of the resources, slightly. So a lot of those fears, we think, again, the facts, the reality on the ground, don't bear that out. I can give you sort of program by program offline through Invest in Innovation, what we've done in terms of absolute priorities and set-asides through Promised Neighborhoods. You should absolutely hold us accountable for that. And again, the big thing on this preschool for all is this is a large enough pot. Our goal would be to invest into every state. If states, again, to be clear, this is not a free lunch. States would have to invest in early childhood education, have to meet us, have to be a partnership there. But we want to play in rural communities. We have played in rural communities. We know how important that is to our country and to our country's economy. And I've spent, being a boy from Chicago, obviously was not my background, but I promise you I've spent a huge amount of my time in rural areas to listen, to learn, to understand the challenges. Technology is a piece of that. We got into that. But again, happy to have a further conversation there.
Well, I'm interested in your response, of course, but it does seem like there's a consistent theme here this morning that we all have concerns, and maybe your answer is that our concerns, I know that you wouldn't say this in these words, that you're suggesting, though, that they're unjustified, that we're actually receiving a larger percentage than...
No, I gave you one example. I'm not suggesting they're unjustified at all. I'm just trying to suggest that we take it very, very seriously. And where it is justified, we want to hold ourselves accountable and figure out how we can be smarter. And hopefully you've seen over the evolution of the past couple years, I think we've gotten more sophisticated in terms of absolute priorities and competitive priorities to make sure that rural communities are represented in what we do.
I think one of the problems is that rural school districts don't have the personnel to do through the application process, and the federal regulations related to this are huge. The application is, I don't know, 40 pages, and in many instances, I would guess we don't apply, but it's the burden that in the application that causes us not to apply.
Yeah.
I appreciate your suggestion that interest in spending time in rural schools. You and I had a conversation a couple years ago. I'd like to invite you back to Kansas. You were kind enough, wise enough to grant McPherson, Kansas, a waiver from No Child Left Behind. They had a different plan using ACT scores. And we'd love to come show you a rural setting in which no federal money, just a decision by a local board of education to try to do something better.
That wasn't our wisdom, that was their courage and leadership. And again, wherever anyone is raising the bar and not lowering the bar, we have to partner, we have to be all ears. So we get none of the credit there and they get all the credit, and would love to follow up and see how things are going there.
We would love to have you come to Kansas and have this conversation. Finally, let me follow up on Senator Tester's comments about TRIO programs. We had 4 upward bound programs, 1/3 of our upward bound programs eliminated in the last competition, and it seems to us, and we've communicated this with the department, that there was a change in something, several competitive preference priorities changed, in my view, without the knowledge of the applicants who were seeking those funds, and it excluded a number of those programs in Kansas, and we would continue to try to work with the Department of Education to make sure there is not, and what those competitive preferences, the results seem to be a bias against rural programs, small high schools. So we would continue to promote the aspect of the rural nature and work with the department to try to solve that problem.
We'll do, and just again to go back, again, look at what we've done around absolute priorities in rural communities. Look at what we've done to encourage districts to apply, not individually, but as a consortia, so that it's not one district doing it by themselves. But where you think we're not doing enough, or where you have creative ideas of how we can do a better job, again, absolutely want to be a good partner there.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Senator Moran.